This is an Arabic form. I found many different ways to pronounce this, including on the Poetry Foundation website, which said that it is pronounced Ghazal. However, because this is an Arabic writing form, I found places that say it's pronounced Ghazal. That sounds a bit more correct, so that's the way I'm gonna say it. Unless it is Ghazal, like, let me know in the comments down below, but Ghazal, I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. Hey there, poetry pals, welcome back to another video. This week, I'll be showing you how to write a ghazal. So, in this video, I'm going to be showing you what makes a ghazal a ghazal. I will run through the rules and I will show you a couple of examples. And then I'm going to tell you how I would approach writing this whilst showing you my writing process. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to share with you my first draft of my first ever ghazal. This is the thing with my how to write a poem videos. We've already covered all of the poetry forms that I know how to do. So these ones are taking like a little bit more work. That's why there's a little bit more of gaps in between them, because it's harder for me to do because I then have to learn the poem and learn how to write it myself. Everything before now I've known how to do. So let's go, shall we? But before we go any further, please make sure you like this video, subscribe to my channel and turn on notifications. It really helps small creators like me get found. You can support the channel by buying my book, joining me on Patreon, or buying me a coffee. The links to do all of that are in the description down below. And while we're on the subject, why don't you follow me on social media? I am at Josie Alford Poet on all of the things. Let's start with what is a ghazal. A ghazal is originally an Arabic verse defined by couplets and often dealing with loss or romantic love. Medieval Persian poets embraced it in a huge way, and now it is widespread across Middle Eastern cultures, but it is used around the world. Let's talk about these couplets. The first couplet, both lines end in the same word and the rhyme that comes before it. Afterwards, the second line of each couplet ends with the same word. So the repeated word in the context of like Persian poetry is called a radif, and it means order, and it's just the sort of like repeating word. So the radif is the like recurring word, but there is also, in front of the radif is a multi-syllabic rhyme that occurs everywhere the radif does, and that is called a kafaya. I think that's what it's called, kafaya. It's the Arabic word for rhyme, so however you pronounce the Arabic word for rhyme. But basically, you have a word that repeats, so it technically rhymes, but each of the rhymes also has a multi-syllabic rhyme before it, which means the syllables ahead of it, one or two of the syllables, is rhymed with that repeating word pattern as well. I'm going to share some full examples with you later, but just stealing some of that now, there's one of the poems I'm going to share with you is called Ghazal with Prayer, and there is a multi-syllabic rhyme in the second line of each couplet. It has to end with the same word, but can play with the syllables before it. Here are some examples. Do with prayer, true with prayer, to with prayer, you with prayer, etc. Each couplet, now here's the kicker. Traditionally, each couplet is syntactically whole, which means they are full sentences. It's almost better to think of them as mini poems in themselves, because they are whole. Whilst many of the couplets together could make a wider story, there's not like a syntactical flow between each one. Okay, we're back in a new location. My camera overheated. Hopefully this place is a little bit cooler. Man, filming in a heat wave. Let's go. So because each couplet is syntactically whole, you can only use enjambment between the lines of one couplet, but not between several couplets. Another part of the tradition is that the last line includes a name, often the poet's name, which, as I say this to you now, I realised that I did not do with my Ghazal, so I'm going to have to edit it before I read it to you at the end of this video. Also, each couplet has the same meter and length. In Arabic poetry, they have many different types of syllables, whereas in English, we tend to have stressed or unstressed. They have many different types. This is kind of similar to what I found when I was researching the haiku. This is just something to bear in mind, that if writing in English, we're never going to sort of truly hit that like syllable tradition of Arabic, because English as a language doesn't work that way. However, there's not a set pattern that a ghazal has to be in. It's just that every line has to hit it. And that's not just how many syllables, but actually how many stressed and unstressed. The metric pattern of the line has to be the same. Now, I'm not going to lie to you, in the poem I've written, I've just gone for a similar number of syllables. I've gone for 10 syllables. I wrote in iambic pentameter, mostly. There doesn't seem to be a rule about how many couplets make up a ghazal, but I've never seen one that's less than 5. And finally, I just want to reiterate, each couplet is a mini poem, and there does not need to be a narrative flow. So our first example is called Ghazal with Prayer, and it's by a Lebanese poet called Zaina Hashem Beck. And I'm going to read it to you now, but it's also going to come up on the screen. The herons were no longer safe in the sky. They flew with prayer, then fell to us. We hid them from the cats. What to do with prayer? Decades after the Civil War, we entered the night sniper's hole. Sew the sandbags, read words for his boyfriend on the wall, true with prayer. Write my name and invite me to a wedding. I want a parade of cars with flashes on, each blinking red, 2 times 2 with prayer. Dear Eurydice, what a good heart that can't resist looking back. Foolish, music-laden Orpheus almost saved you with prayer. In the Museum of Memory, the missing accumulate. They shoot out of the tiles like grass blades, damp and new with prayer. I found a photo in a library book, lovers holding hands. I felt chosen, then lost it, and I didn't pursue with prayer. When I interviewed God, I said I moved the plants towards the light, forgot the water. Is love a lack, always imbued with prayer? Tarot cards make me beautiful. Abundance me, O 3 of Cups. Spin luck, O Wheel of Fortune. I'm through, I'm through, I'm through with prayer. So that was example number 1. And another example I have for you is called Hip Hop Ghazal by Patricia Smith. Gotta love us brown girls, munching on fat, swinging blue hips, decked out in shells and splashes, Lordy bringing them woo hips. As the jukebox teases, watch my sisters throat the heartbreak, inhaling bassline, cracking backbone and singing through hips. Like something boneless, we glide silent, seeping between floorboards, wrapping round the hymns and ooh-wee, clinging like glue hips. Engines grinding, rotating, smoking, gotta pull back some. Natural minds are lost at the mere sight of ringing true hips. Gotta love us girls, just strutting down Manhattan streets, killing the men hope with a dose of that stinging view, hips. Crying about getting old, Patricia, you need to get up off what God gave you. Say a prayer and start slinging. Cue hips. So those are 2 examples. And now I'm going to, hopefully like the rules that I just explained earlier in the video now make sense. And so now I'm going to go through how I approached writing this. So yeah, here we go. Yep. As we know, you can't really do your best creative work if you don't have drinks and plenty of snacks. My chosen cup of tea here is called cream egg tea from Bird and Blend, and then as you can see I've got crisps and chocolate biscuits. So my first step, as with all of my poetry writing, is to write a mind map. My first thing I wrote on this mind map was Ghazal, because I decided on what my topic was going to be, which was sort of finally coming to terms with my queer identity, which has been a difficult one, seeing as I have been married to a man for the last 2 years. So with my mind map, I'm sort of thinking about the topic that I want to talk about. You know, I feel like sort of mourning your queer self when you're in a straight relationship kind of fits pretty well into the love and loss vibe. And then I was sort of mind mapping my repeating words and my multi-rhyme phrases as well. I landed on the reused word of girl. That was the one that sort of struck with me the most. So yeah, I spent a few minutes mind mapping and then we moved on. Okay, so step 2 for me after a mind map is a free write. This is where I like to just word vomit on the page. But as you can see, I forgot to record that step. This is actually sort of the next step where I'm taking my word vomit and turning it into a poem. But I just wanted to take a moment to say that free writing is important, and it's important to bear in mind that you need to give yourself permission to be rubbish, and by that I mean if you're anything like me, you'll want it to be perfect, and you might get sort of bogged down trying to make it your first draft as perfect as possible. Personally, I find the editing part a lot easier, so I have to remind myself to let this be rubbish, because editing Josie can do a fabulous job with it anyway. So I want to encourage you to do the same thing, is give yourself permission to be rubbish on your first go. We can make it good afterwards. So once I finished my free write, I wrote it up here into the notebook. So your next step will be to redraft, but I think it's important to have some gap between, so I took myself on a little walk. As you can see, I was back visiting family. I was filming this at my mum's house. So this is the walk, the 2-mile walk to my grandparents' house. And I had a lovely time being outside and connecting with nature. It's not too much to do with the Ghazal here, but there's something I really love about like late spring. Early spring when everything's coming out is very exciting, but late spring when everything just goes pff, and everything green just explodes everywhere and all of the walkways are like covered up. It's probably my favourite. I really enjoyed it. Yeah, the walk between where my mum lives and where my grandparents live in North Devon is beautiful, and there were all these beautiful flowers and foxgloves, and I saw a really bloody huge dragonfly. Look at the bloody size of that thing. Massive. Anyway, the point of this segment is to take a break, but look at how big that dragonfly is. Oh my god. Okay, so pause this video, go out for a walk, come back. And now it's time to get back into actually writing. So get back to writing, get back to your desk, make sure you're stretched out, giving yourself a little wobble, and we'll get back to it, shall we? Don't forget to hydrate. And this is the moment where I went from having a full notebook with the poem in the notebook to typing it up. And this is also the moment where I really focused on making sure that the syllables were correct. As I said, I sort of got them roughly right. I think if, you know, in the drafting process going forward, I would spend a bit more time making sure that the rhythm of each line matches each other. But, you know, for the purposes of this, we're just going for a rough draft. So yeah, this will do. If you see my fingers tapping, that's what I'm doing. I'm counting out the syllables, which is something I find myself doing when I'm not writing poetry anyway. But yeah, I also find the typing process really helps me to refine the lines and make sure they really flow. So that's something that I found really useful. But yeah. And then the final step for me was actually to change that last couplet so it included my name, because when I was writing this poem, I forgot that that was one of the rules. So you can see me tapping away, trying to get the right syllables to my name and trying to get it to fit. So there you go. So yeah, that's how I approached writing my ghazal. I'll hand it back to filming, Josie. Okay, so that's how I approached writing the poem. That's the advice I give to you. Things to look out for: give yourself permission to be shit. Don't forget to edit. The next steps for this poem, I don't consider this poem finished by any means. The next step for me would be to show it to someone else and ask for feedback. But within the context of this video, if I did that for all of my how to write a poem videos, that would take a really long time to make each one. So this is my step. I'm going to read you the first draft of my poem, and I hope that you will give me feedback on it so I can edit it and make it better. I don't have a title for it yet. The working title that I wrote down was just Ghazal, but I'm not sure that works. I don't know if that's actually kind of offensive, but I wrote Ghazal as the working title, and this is what I've got so far. I liked girls, but I didn't like girls. Besides, I was one of the guys' girl. Pride was a protest not meant for me, but I joined because I'm an ally girl. I thought everyone thought girls were sexy, that everyone made out with their friends. Why, girl? I met a man and fell in love, proposed. I was becoming one of those wife girls when one afternoon when watching Drag Race, a friend asked me, "But you're queer though, right, girl?" It made sense. I fancied everyone on Strictly, but I hadn't really tried girls. It doesn't matter. I don't really count. I married straight. I'm not a real bi girl. There is a part of me that never truly was, a dreamed of but never alive girl. I stopped at the tasting but never more, never drank the whole bottle of wine girl. I buried the secret, an unmarked grave, a grief I couldn't identify girl. Slowly, I unearthed it. Felt the weight of my truth in my hand like a sigh. Girl. I'm into guys, but I'm into girls too. And by into, I mean I like girls. I, Josephine Mary Oak Alford, stand right here in front of you as a proud bi girl. Happy Pride, everyone. Thanks so much for watching this video. I really hope you enjoyed it and found it useful. If you did, let me know in the comments and do all of the engagement stuff. Like, follow, subscribe, share. Helps me get found. It really, really helps. You can support me with your money by buying my book, my poetry collection, which came out back in March 2023. So go ahead and buy it. The link's in the description. And you can join me on Patreon or buy me a coffee, and the links to do all of that are in the description as well. While we're on the subject, you can follow me in all of my latest shenanigans by following me on social media. I am at Josie Alford Poet on all the things. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you all next week. Bye.